Irony by get2herheart.
단 한 번도 말한 적 없지만 사실 말야 난 그날에 이 심장이 뛰는 걸 느꼈어. 처음부터 난 알 수 있었어.
Prologue. I felt like I was suffocating. I wanted to be the bigger person here, the forgiving one, especially as tears welled up and fell down his face. But I had no trust or sympathy left in me. Was he really that sorry? Did he really feel that guilty? Why now? That was the thing I longed to know. Why was he feeling remorseful after 2 years? He had tortured and teased and picked at me for so long, and now he thinks a few apologies and some tears and a kiss can take that all away and erase it from my memory? I hated to break it to him, but life didn't work like that. You couldn't go around doing as you pleased and then change your mind and have everything go smoothly. I gulped down the saliva building in my mouth. I wanted to cry too, but I'd already cried enough, and especially in front of him. I think it would be best if you just ignored my existence for once, I told him, looking at his chest instead of his face. From what I could tell, he didn't even seem to be surprised by my words. You've caused enough trouble for me. Just end it already. Don't make a bigger mess. I looked up, catching the movement of his Adam's apple as he swallowed and nodded. He blinked rapidly, trying to clear his eyes. My own eyes followed the tears running down his cheeks. Weeks ago, I would have been absolutely baffled to see the ferocious Oh Se-hoon crying, but now it only made me sick to my stomach. I should have felt proud that he was the one crying for once, and I was the cause out of everything, but I only felt sorry. Sorry that things couldn't have been different. I made up my mind that it was time to leave, and all of this, even though I felt like there was something else that needed to be said. Se-hoon grabbed my arm before I could even fully turn to leave. Soyun-hee, he said, my name almost in a whisper, like he was unsure that it was my name or that he should even address me at all. Don't leave yet. His grip tightened on my arm, but not to the point where it hurt. Just like he wanted to keep me there. I relaxed, complying with his request. This was the last time I wanted to speak with him anyway. He knew that too, so I waited patiently, but refused to turn my face to him. Soyun-hee, I can't say I'm sorry again because it won't make any difference. He released my arm, seeing I wasn't leaving, but I stared at the ground, feeling uncomfortable. I didn't like the atmosphere around us. But I can say that I was wrong. I really don't deserve your forgiveness, but I don't want you to walk away thinking I won't regret what I've done to you. I'm disgusting and His words choked off momentarily. It was that moment when you're crying and talking and your throat closes up, forcing you to stop. At the sound of his deep breathing, as he tried to compose himself, my eyes began to tear up finally. I squeezed them shut, still refusing to let the tears fall. Yoon-hee, I know I am a disgusting human being and I deserve absolutely nothing from you or anyone else in the world, but I just need... He choked off again, and my tears managed to find their way down my cheeks. His next words were forced out and said swiftly, like maybe they tasted like medicine. Yoon-hee, please just let me be selfish one last time. Chapter 1. I've always heard people say to have a mantra, a sort of chant to remind you to keep going. Mine changed day to day usually. Today it's Friday. Friday meant weekend, and a weekend meant 2 days without having to see the disgusting faces of the things adults like to call students. I like to call them spawns of Satan, amongst other things, but I won't bother with that right now. I thanked winter for its cold breeze, for making me wear a giant jacket, the hood of which I could easily pull down over my face. Call me a coward if you like, but I was going to avoid the spawns of Satan for as long as possible, which, might I add, wasn't very long. I don't know why I tried, really. Having my luck, I was given the locker right next to the idiots, in the very dirtiest hallway of the school, a corner you would think would be specially labeled and given to the lower class of the school, the dorks, bullied, and you would be halfway correct. Truth is, the corner isn't even half as dirty as you think it is. When I first came to school, I was told it was bad and dirty with paper discarded everywhere and terrible things written on the lockers. In other words, people say it's like that so that the students who take up residence there don't get bothered during their makeout sessions. The discarded papers only snack food wrappers. The writings on the lockers are love confessions, in some cases. I scowled at the stupid names people pinned on me, written not only in lipstick, but permanent marker and such. I propped up in my locker, trying to hurry along, because I knew my locker neighbors would be showing up soon. You'd think the cool kids would be tardy and take forever, but no. I grabbed the books for my first classes and stuffed my giant bag into the compacted space. "Can I borrow this?" a voice asked. I turned around hastily, thinking the question was for me. Then I spotted the poor kid who unfortunately got the pleasure of sharing locker neighbors with me. "Sunbeam, please give it back," he asked, not even looking up to meet the eyes of the boy taking his scarf. I felt bad, but rolled my eyes. Fight back, stupid. "Oh, what do you think, Luan-hyung?" The scarf thief, known as Kai, if you asked me, stupidest name ever, grinned at his friend, who leaned against the locker, hands in his pocket. Beside him stood another, taller guy known as Tao. The kid wanted to act all cool and pretend his name wasn't Huang Zitao. "I'd say I'm a bit chilly, Kai," Luhan said, getting off the locker and taking the scarf to wrap around his own neck. With that, I took my books and advantage of their distraction and bolted. Wherever these three smug idiots were, the fourth smug idiot usually followed, and I had no desire to stick around and greet my sunbae good morning. "See you at lunch, Choi Yun-hee," Tao's voice echoed through the student-filled hall. I sighed, but sped at my pace. Thank God I didn't share classes with the jerks. Lunch came, and I wondered if the rumbling in my tummy was really hunger, or if I may have a small dog within it. I wanted to say the latter, but I headed to the canteen anyway, albeit at a slow pace, and waited for other students to pile in before I stepped in behind a large giggly group of girls who eyed me with disdain. I kept a small distance, but not enough that I stood out. For once, I got lucky and ended up getting my food into a table while hiding behind those girls. I heaved a sigh of relief when I sat down far back in the tables where I wouldn't be easily spotted. I took small bites of my food, trying to keep aware of my surroundings, and sighed again, this time in shame. It was like this every day. I hid from the sunbays to avoid trouble. I wasn't scared, but I didn't like confrontation, and that was all that my foes liked. Not to mention that fact that I always got the butt end of the situations when teachers found us arguing in the hallways. Last time I ended up with detention after class for 2 days just because I stepped on precious Sunbay's foot. I took a sip of my water, my eyes scanning the room. As always, fashionably late, entering the canteen were Wings High's most popular. Most annoying and hateful if you asked me. I cringed when I caught sight of a little too much of one of the girls' legs, as she didn't know how to wear her uniform properly. "This is a school, not a strip club," Kim Taeyeon. And to no one's surprise, she was clinging to the ever-so-handsome douchebag of the century. I sucked in a sharp breath when his eyes met mine, and he winked. Cursing myself, I choked on my water and abruptly stood and grabbed my half-eaten sandwich. Time to run. I was almost there when Zitao stepped in my way. "Told you we'd see you at lunch," he said with a grin. Though this idiot was the least of my worries, my blood ran cold because my worries was right behind him. He grinned and rested an arm over Tao's shoulder, his other one around Kim Taeyeon. "I feel terrible I wasn't able to greet you this morning, Dumpling," he mused. Taeyeon groaned. "Oppa, why do you call her so many names?" she whined. She only shut up when he leaned over and kissed her cheek. She pretended to be sheepish about it, but I really couldn't tell if she was blushing or a Trude House was. "Don't worry yourself too much. Your idiots did a fine job," I told him, giving him my best annoying smirk. "Call me an idiot, because I am one." Tao stood up straight, shrugging his friend's arm off. "What did you say?" But he was only pulled back. "Hyung, don't waste your breath," he said. "She's wasting enough of our air as it is," he added, while eyeing me with his stoic face. Not going to lie, those words hurt at one point in time, but after 2 years of hearing how I'm worthless and dumb, I kind of got over it. "My apologies, your royal hind ass," I spat. As soon as those words left my mouth, I knew it was time to leave and I tried to bolt. The look in his eyes told me I'd better be glad it was the weekend in only a few hours. Yeah, Soyun-hee, you just wait, he said, as I ran towards the door, sandwich still clutched in my hands. I ran until I was inside my classroom, where I stopped and rested my hands on my knees, breathing heavily. I assure you I can, Oh Se-hoon, I murmured to myself. Yoon-hee, you idiot, I added. You would think I would stop provoking the guy already after 2 years. I think that Christmas break gave me too much confidence. I'd forgotten where I stood with Oh Se-hoon, the bully. However, I did not forget how to avoid. Avoiding him was pretty easy, considering we were in separate classes. But as soon as the dismissal bell rang and everyone was free to go home for the weekend, it was a different story. My goal was to make it out of the school gates without running into the douchebag posse. I have to say, it was very challenging, and I figured I would be a master of sneaking if I managed to do it. So just exit the school, run across the front garden, past the parking lot, where the idiots would be located, and make it out of the gate and to the bus stop before I was spotted. To my fortune, I was just in time, and they were leaving as I ran for the gates. To my misfortune, they were leaving as I ran for the gates. If I had only been a bit slower cleaning the nasty words off my locker, I wouldn't have almost gotten run over by Oh Se-hoon, who scowled at me from the driver's seat of his black BMW 428i. Yeah, Cho-Yuni, do you want to die? He hollered. I started to retort, staring through the windshield, but then I realized he was giving a good offer. I shrugged, crossing my arms. Maybe so, I said, tapping my foot. What is wrong with me today? Someone honked from behind Se-hoon's black car. It was one of the soccer team players. I couldn't remember which one owned the navy blue Jeep, but I stepped out of the way of Se-hoon's car to let them pass. No need in holding up traffic just because of a jerk. I scoffed when he flipped me the birdie as he passed. Just behind him came the Jeep, and I realized it was the soccer team's co-captain, Kim Min-suk, and several of his team members with him. He nodded as he passed before I turned and headed for the bus stop. At least it was finally the weekend.
처음 만난 그날을 기억해 눈이 부시게